This is DanO, back with Toddy, my partner, co-host, and friend, to talk Drop the Needle topics. This podcast, Drop the Needle, is all about perspectives on music and the fact that Toddy and I both appreciate music, good music.
Good music.
Yeah, exceptionally. And it's something that's an important part of our life. That's how important it is. So anyway, getting back to the episode for tonight, we've touched on so many other topics in the last few episodes that tonight I wanted to go just a little bit deeper into how the hell did we get here, and the fact that, man, we spent so much time talking about the golden era and what it was like, how different it is now. And again, how did we get from there to here? And there are some pretty obvious places where that highway splits, and maybe we didn't catch it along the way. But, 20, 30 years later, it's become pretty obvious. Toddy, you got any new music moments that you're planning to share?
Well, it's not really so much a new band this week as it is an old band with a new record. Now, and when I say old, I mean old. So
who are you talking about? We'll get there.
Rolling Stones.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
They have released a new album.
Yeah.
Foreign Tongues, I think is the name of it. I've heard a couple of songs.
Is it a posthumous?
Yeah, jury shot. Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that Keith Richards didn't pass 30, 40 years ago.
Well,
and, man, that dude, I'd give him credit, man. Holy shit, he keeps ticking. I think they're, fucking Ronnie Wood is the youngster of the group, and I think he's 79.
All right, man. We'll get back to them, and that is new music, and it does satisfy so much what we're talking about, Toddy. If there's a man that started in 1968 and they're still making music today, it's new music. It's new music.
Yeah.
It's not reaching back to 1968 and saying, hey, I'm going to grab that song and pull it forward to 2026 and call it new. No, but what you're talking about is
a new album.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to that, man. I'm excited about that. So anyway, in terms of Drop the Needle and the podcast here that we go through on most episodes, we kind of wander a little bit at times, but, tonight's special topic is going to be when I started out as labeling genre bending. It's not necessarily that specific, but you'll see, I think, as a part of this discussion, how it plays into what I'm trying to describe. How did we get here? That was really the gist of what I was searching for and still searching for. And what I found is it's not just the fact that we have turned the corner over several decades and people's choices, tastes have changed. It's a lot deeper than that. And if you go back to what we've talked about is the golden era and saying, okay, it ended in 1983, we'll call it. Well, that was where Thriller, Michael Jackson came in, because it just kind of squashed everything. From that point forward, it was Thriller or nothing. It was a great album. It was a good album. Had some stuff I really enjoyed on it, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted on my radio in my truck that time.
At that time frame,
there
was a dynamic shift from music being from an audio medium to a visual. At that point, MTV was becoming huge.
Man.
And this is
point.
the look.
Great.
This is what was pushed on you, and it became an instant gratification thing.
Well, yeah, and you're kind of leading the witness here, Toddy, because some of that is inherent in what I'm about to just lay out real quickly, and that is, so we went through this transition. 1983, Michael Jackson comes on the scene with Thriller, and things go to hell, and then all of a sudden you got Nirvana knocking, not Thriller, but Dangerous by Michael Jackson out of the number one spot, and all of a sudden the world changed. Now it's about grunge. It is about grunge, and that went along for a period of time, but in parallel,
pretty short lifespan.
Well, it did in a lot of ways, Toddy, but there's still some pockets that are out there, and I still
love
hear
Alice in Chains,
and I still hear bands that obviously were influenced by that group of bands that were part of that grunge era. But in parallel to the music, there were some other things, technology things that were happening. We'd already gone through the transition from, okay, I got LPs, got albums, but I can't play those in my car. So how about some 8-tracks? Yeah, that's good. Cool. The fact that I had to hear a split between two parts of a song, never mind, man. It still made it okay. Then cassettes came along, and cassettes were awesome because you could record your own music on this cassette and put it in your deck, and man, whether it was your buddies or whether it was your lady, you had exactly what you needed lined up for that night. So cassettes were maybe not a huge step forward from a fidelity standpoint, but they did change the game. You're right.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of, what the availability of how we used our music. And then you get into CDs. Well, man, then it's another game changer. And a lot of people, including myself, got so caught up in the digital recording era and the perfection of what showed up with a digital recording, and folks like Steely Dan doing the DDD on a disc. You'd pick it up from the store and you'd look to see, is it analog disc or analog digital, or is it digital analog, or what was the combination? I don't know if it mattered, but at the time,
still don't.
Well, yeah, right. But it had a triple D connotation associated with it. And it was like, wow, that sounds good. And it does. I mean, there's just perfection there. But at the same time, music is more than perfection. Music is about how you react to it. And it's about feeling. And it's about the earnestness and the urgency that you feel from whoever is performing the song. And that got lost to a large extent with CDs. Wow. Now, who would have ever imagined that LPs, vinyl would have come back into the picture? Go ahead.
Okay. With an album, and I think we've touched on this before, used to wait its release. You went and bought the record, you come home, and you put it on. In order for you to skip a song or do what have you, you'd have to get up, go, pick the damn needle up, whatever. So you were more apt to start to finish. Yeah. The CD era also, most CD players, you could skip songs with the damn remote control. I'm going to play first song, and I'm going to jump to song 4.
Yeah.
And so you didn't really have to get to know the album anymore. And to me, that was just another one of those.
It was a brick in the wall, man.
Yeah,
but it was a brick in the wall, man. It started us down a path that we've not recovered from yet. And so I want to take a little aside here, man, and go back. I talked about, you got Michael Jackson and Dangerous, and the fact that here comes Nirvana and knocks them out of the throne. And all of a sudden, world is different. But there was a time before that where a little album that you might be familiar with called Saturday Night Fever, maybe, sat at number 1 for like 6-7 weeks consecutively on the Billboard Top 100.
But you didn't know a damn soul that would admit to owning a copy.
But
we all had one.
But here's what I want to ask you: who knocked it out of number 1? Jerry Rafferty. Jerry Rafferty, City to City, is what knocked the Saturday Night soundtrack out of number 1. And I mean, gosh, if you're going to be chalking up accomplishments as an artist, that's a pretty big one. And you're right, it is an excellent album, and is I would say just a cornerstone of what good music sounds like. It is just amazing. But okay, so let's skip forward. So
Days Gone Down's on that record.
Yeah.
And that's a phenomenal song.
But let's run forward for just a minute. So, man, music's changing, technology is changing, and then all of a sudden, 2001, we've got this thing called an iPod. Now, nobody had an iPhone at that time, but this iPod gave people the opportunity to go back to what I said about cassettes and portability. I can play them here, I can play them there, I can play them in my car, I can play them when I'm jogging. CDs did the same thing, and all of a sudden now you can put 2,000 songs on something that's the size of a stick of gum and play it wherever you want to play it. That was where it went huge, and I'll tell you why I think that in a minute.
What else did that create? The iPod.
What else? Well,
Isolation.
yeah.
Because you put them in your ears, you hit play. You no longer shared that music with people.
Yeah.
You didn't,
Yeah.
Now, and so like it created isolation. And once again, it goes back, excuse me, to instant gratification. I'm
Mhm.
going to listen to what, it used to be if you got in your car, you put what's on, and hell, if you were in the back seat, you may not like what was being played, but you were fucking stuck. Now, fuck that. Put your own in and sit.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's what I mean. It isolated you.
Yeah, it does. But Toddy, you keep using a phrase that's important to what I'm trying to get to, and that is the instant gratification piece of this. Because right then, right at that moment, 2001, write that down somewhere. Flip the script completely. And it went back to what you and I talked about a little bit before the show. There was a time when me and you calling the DJ at WDIG or Wolf
Press
Radio was, and telling them, hey man, I really want to hear this song. That was what fed them. They played songs based on input. Those songs were measured across the country, and in result, there was a chart that led to the Billboard Hot 100 and said, these are the 20 best songs that are most popular songs that are playing in the country today. But it was us driving that. And all of a sudden in 2001, and how we're consuming music, we're putting something in our ears and saying, okay, play me something. It's not a radio station. Play me something. And all of a sudden, it's them telling us what we need to hear. That's where the script was flipped. And it's gone down a rabbit hole from that point forward.
I go back to, I think that seed was planted with MTV. And
yes.
And I'm going, and look, I was just as guilty as anybody. If shit, it played continuously, but you were force fed what MTV or a record company, what they wanted you to hear.
Yes.
Because it's right. If it plays enough times in front of you, you're gonna go buy the record.
Yep. And those are the things that you're exposed to.
And okay, we did or stated from 67 to 82, 83. That's our
golden era
template for the golden era. Okay. MTV launched early 80s, I think, but really hit its stride, and most cable companies were carrying it by 83, 84. Yeah. All right. See, follow me there. Now, okay, we state that the golden era pretty much begins to tail off in 83. What was rising? Because, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of good music in the 80s, but there was also a lot of.
But okay, but you're kind of making.
And I like some of it. Rock Me Amadeus. I'm guilty. I like that song.
Man. I love it.
Is it a good song? No, but I like it. Yeah,
well, and I don't know, Toddy. When you ask, is it a good song? And this is one of the pieces of collateral influence that this podcast has had on me. You've talked about it in the past on your end, but for me, it has caused me to realize that, good music, what determines good music? You made a comment several episodes ago. It's good music is what you like. Yeah, to a large extent, I think that's right. So it Rock Me Amadeus causes some reaction in you, causes some dopamine to get dropped into your neurotransmitters. It's good music. And it doesn't matter if DanO says it's not or not. It's good music. So I have really tracked an evolution of what I call the criteria for good music. And it has changed drastically from where we started 14 episodes ago.
But, if we're sitting here talking about that shift in with MTV, if you had to rate what 3 artists benefited the most from MTV, who would you say?
Well, I don't know if I can get 3, but I can tell you right off the bat, Talking Heads. And the fact that burning down the house with dude having a little midget guy on his back playing the guitar turned me into a Talking Heads fan when I don't know if I would have been one or not, but it's certainly accelerated my journey to being a Talking Heads fan.
Now, I might have got on that train a little earlier because I used to love listening to them on my way to school and when a senior. Me and John be riding that little yellow Toyota.
Toyo, the Toyo.
Dude, and Take Me to the River. But
yeah. Oh,
okay,
yeah. No.
But here's where I was going with that. The three, to me, that I think MTV made the biggest stars out of: Michael Jackson, Madonna, and George Michael. And now, I'm not saying that they're void of talent, because
listen, I'm going to give you Michael Jackson and George Michael. Those people are talented as hell, sure, man. There's no discussion required on that. You get to Madonna, and I'm going to go back to, oh my gosh, the Brady Bunch.
But think about how many videos did she have? And every time you turned it on, there she was. She was a brilliant marketer. I'll give her that.
Johnny Bravo. Anybody that has ever watched the Brady Bunch will know who I'm talking about with Johnny Bravo. A personality that was created in disregard of any actual musical talent or anything else. But if you can wear this uniform and do these moves and strum this guitar in this way, you're a star. And she created herself a whole niche of stardom, void of talent. That's my opinion.
Well, and I'm going to say this about George Michael. Now, he came from Wham, which, let's face it, at the time, and we thought they were a joke. Just to be honest.
You didn't want to pull them out of your tape case and throw them in the player while you were traveling. Yeah.
When he dumped the other dude, who sadly I know his name, Andrew Ridgely. Why I know that. But when he
what day is it?
I begrudgingly began to notice the dude can sing. And when he covered Queen's Somebody to Love in that Freddie Mercury tribute concert
biopsy or myopsy or whatever the hell it was called,
absolutely incredible. And so I give credit where it's due. He was phenomenal, but I think he was a product of MTV. In fact, in his song Freedom, there's a line, something about the boys at MTV wanted me to get a new face or something like that. That's in that song. And basically he was reinventing himself from Wham to now this ultra smooth pop star. And he made it work. But I don't think he would have had the success if it wasn't for MTV.
Well, he might not have, and that gets back to the fact that success and talent aren't necessarily correlated, Toddy. I mean, but I think he had both. And I think that at the same time, you look at Dire Straits, Money for Nothing. That was such a one-off song for them. As you look back over 30, 40 years, such a one-off song. And yet it did such a huge bit of lifting Dire Straits and awareness of Dire Straits at that time frame. And Knopfler went back to doing what he wanted to do.
And I'm sitting here thinking, and ironically, it's probably one of my least favorite Dire Straits tunes. Doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not my favorite.
And that's the point, is somewhere there was a label in there that was saying, hey, man, we need you to do a song with a really strong hook and some strong electric guitar, and maybe we'll throw some Sting in there.
I'm saying Sting's just down the hall. We'll get him to sit in.
Right. So, but it suddenly propelled them to worldwide stardom.
And what does Sting say in that song? What does he keep chanting?
Money for Nothing.
I want my MTV.
Oh, I want my MTV.
Told you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I was going. It was, you mentioned MTV, and it truly had such an indelible impact on everything that we listened to during and after. It affected us. And so in much the same way that as you go forward from that, and you think about the things that I've talked about, now we're transitioning to CDs. Okay, that was not that hard. I mean, we were still going out looking for a band that sounded good, Wallflowers, for instance, and buying a CD. And gosh, I mean, it wasn't that big of a influence. We chose what music we wanted to listen to. But when it got to streaming, when it got to that iPod.
Oh,
Now everything flipped, and suddenly, how do we know what we want to listen to? Well, we depend on an algorithm, and that algorithm is going to tell us what we need to hear, what we should hear. And in some cases, gosh, man, it is so right.
Yeah.
But in other places, it's like, man, I found a band over here that I really love, and you never told me about it. So what do we need to do here?
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I'm sitting here railing on MTV because
Too late, man.
But well, and that's the. If it wasn't for MTV, would have never stumbled across Men Without Hats. So if nothing else happens with MTV and they gave us the safety dance, we got dancing midgets, little people, whatever. You can't beat that. Icicle Works. There were so many bands that just kind of flew below the radar. That MTV did give some exposure to. Like I said, Icicle Works, I really liked. Now, I don't know where they are today, but
but Toddy, okay, so let's focus on that MTV thing for a minute. All right, I'm in my apartment, TV's playing on the TV. I hear a song, I say, ooh, boy, I kind of like that. Pick up what it is. Maybe I drive to Oz Records and buy it. I don't know, but it was still me having control based on seeing something or hearing something that was put in front of me. I don't get that benefit with Spotify or Apple Music. It's just, hey, we've curated a playlist for you, DanO, and here are the songs in it that you, DanO, need to hear. It was still a huge difference there between the interaction of us and music and us from what happened after the iPod. Damn the iPod.
And now it's your phone. And who knows where that goes. But everything continues to go back to that instant gratification. And
I'm sorry, Toddy. But
what I want.
Yes, I'm sorry, but you reminded me of something I meant to jump in on earlier. So just bear with me. So in that first situation, I'll call it, where we were driving the music, calling the DJs, so forth. There was a time when you knew there was an album coming out and you really wanted that album and you had to wait for it to get delivered to Music Scene. And then you had to drive down there and pick it up and buy it and drive it back home and put it on the turntable and play it. And maybe 7 days have gone by since you fell in love with it. Today, instant gratification. Man, I can go anywhere and find any song I want instantly, and I don't have to wait for Music Scene to get it. Sorry.
Well, the one plus is I do think release of albums are making a comeback. I think that artists they have the ability now to particularly establish what's their own production. We're going to make the record we want to make. We're going to put it out. People buy it, fine. If they don't, we're established. We're good. So I still think record companies are going to drive the biggest boat, sure. But we have seen a return to LPs, and I, for one, am glad.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think while there are a lot of people that would say it's all about the audiophile part of this, you can get sounds and warmth and things out of an LP that you can't get out of that cold laboratory environment of a CD. Okay, that's probably true, but you can also control what it is you want to hear, in what order you want to hear it, and how you want to hear it. So yeah, LPs are coming back in a big way, and I'm tickled to death to see that.
And me too. Yeah, like I said, this too has resulted in me dusting off, the turntable and getting out. I had a damn footlocker full of albums set. Holy crap. Ranges everywhere from Three Dog Night to Pink Floyd, obviously. From, let me think about it, Ozark Mountain Daredevils.
Creedence Clearwater Revival is one that I don't know why I'm throwing that out now, Toddy, but I just keep seeing Cosmos Factory, and it's like, my God, that was a good album.
Willie and the Pool Boys, another one. Fogerty, the king of the 3-minute song. He could sum up in 3 minutes. I mean, a pretty astounding bit of music. Fortunate Son, probably an anthem of the Vietnam War.
Right.
And it's like 3 minutes and 12 seconds long, something like that. It's not a long song.
No, it's not. But in that 3 minutes and 12 seconds or whatever it was, there was a ton of emotion that was generated. An artist can't hand you that emotion. They just can't hand it to you. They've got to work with how you respond to what they say, what they sing, how they sing it, and hope that that response mimics what it is that they feel, what it is they're trying to communicate. And those songs that you're talking about, they do it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Midnight Special. Yeah. I mean, we could go on and on and on. ECR was just one of those.
Where today in the musical landscape, where today could you go get you some Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog? Where could you possibly find something even close to that? And yet,
that's a good question. Maybe a Marcus King?
It didn't exist, man. I'm just going to give you a way out here. It didn't exist. But back then, it was something that an artist could throw out, and if they did it with the right rhythm and chord changes, people just went, Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog. It was, but I mean, it was just, natural. It was considered like, okay, this is it. This is cool. So many examples of the songs that we saw and heard, and I'm going to put some screen shares up when I do the editing on this of just some of the charts from back in the 70s and maybe even later than that, but just showing the variety of music.
There you go.
And it was
the
variety, diversity, and yet everything we heard was just freaking good. Toddy, I had a need. I was testing out some speakers the other day, and I needed a song for doing said testing. I chose something off Stevie Wonder and Songs in the Key of Life. And you listen to it, and you listen to the song that I picked, and it was just like, I mean, I haven't heard these songs in probably 30 years. But when I heard them today, that was great. So it was very different than what was happening in the realm of Steppenwolf or any of the other bands that were going on at that time. But it was accepted and it was welcomed and it was something that people got excited about. And I miss those days, man. I really miss those days.
That's what this podcast is about, is bringing those days back in whatever way that you can. You can't often repeat it, but we can revisit it. And hey, thumbs up.
Well, and you're right, Toddy. And at the same time, I'll just say that you and I have talked much on this podcast about, there's good music out there. You just got to look a little harder for it. And that's absolutely true. But there's also a need, if you will, to somehow slice it back in the kind of order that we're looking for. Started out with genre bending, and maybe genre unbending would be a thing that I would lean on if I was going to try and recreate some of what we were able to capture in 1978 or 79 or 80 or 81. I just think that there was something special about the fact that we could say, this is something I like, and it clearly falls in this genre, and I'm not trying to limit anybody, but I do think that there was something different than what we hear today, which,
no doubt,
has a mashup of 14 different genres in the hopes that they'll get somebody, the label company will get somebody to buy this, regardless of what genre you like. I got something for everybody. Here's a big bag of candy. Come get some.
And maybe, well, like I said, technology is going to be what it is. And it's always going to allow you to pick and choose, especially today. But here's the hope that more and more artists will continue to put out LPs. Granted, there's no record store to go to anymore, but you can buy them online. And maybe more people will, I don't know, maybe take a cue from this show and start, you know what? I'm going to go buy the Rolling Stones' new album.
On vinyl.
Yeah. And so I
don't know.
Maybe there's hope. Yeah.
I do think there's hope. And a lot of, I'm struggling, Toddy, with how to define the full picture of what's in my head. I'll tell you a lot of times I got something in my head and I'm trying to get it out. And I've gotten part of it out tonight. But this whole idea of the way we used to consume music was much more consistent with, parallel to, the taste that we had in music. And
It was organic.
Yes. And today it's really not.
Sterile.
It's designed for you to buy one song online at a time, download it, play it. Now what do I listen to? And it just
All right. To sum that up, and this will tell you what a load of crap that is. You know, I'm not the most technical savvy person. We can admit that. But, and I don't know how long ago this was, a few years. I didn't know who the fuck Justin Bieber was. I had no clue. And I saw this thing basically, for like the 10th freaking week in a row, some dude named Justin Bieber had the most download. All right, let me check this out. I mean, I hate that I admit it. That's the first thing. But there's your point, though. You got force fed that. And he sat there, and I don't know where his talent lies. I don't have a clue. I mean, he's obviously made a bunch of money, but I didn't see anything to warrant sitting in the top spot. But for some reason, people were downloading the shit out of this song. I did. I did listen. I'm gonna pass.
I'm proud of you, Toddy.
Yeah. So, but there's my point, though, is I think labels, consciously, however, force feed you a certain artist. And, I don't know where the dude is today. I mean, I'm sure he's counting money. Yeah. So, but I know we're probably getting about the 40-minute mark, and there's a thing that I want to touch on before we start winding up tonight. As you and I talked earlier, we've had another friend, in Dothan pass away in Greg Sample. Another one of those, man, I've known Samp for, I don't know, first grade. He turned me on to Little Feat and Poco. So, they'll always be grateful for that, I suppose, because what 2-5 bands that was. And, he'll be missed.
Isn't it amazing, though, Toddy, how, I mean, you had a lot more interaction. I had a lot more interaction with Samp than music, but somehow the things that we remember are the things that he, quote, turned us on to. In the form of music. You can't forget those. And in a lot of cases, they took off and took on a life of themselves.
Well, in that, and we were in the 9th grade. Samp turned 16, gets his mom and dad's LTD or whatever it was. We enlist the Cox boys to buy a few, 8-packs or Miller Ponies, and me, Samp, Gil, and Ted off to the Skyview.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
The energy in that car, man.
We park. Gil reaches out, gets the speaker, hangs it on the window. Samp decides we can get closer, takes off. Man, shatters the damn window in the car, snatches the damn speaker off the pole, and he stops, panic sets in. Ted, being the purveyor of wisdom, hey, look, man, you're already in trouble. You can either go on and go home now, or you can at least have a little bit of fun and then go home later. So, and that was, we opted for option B. And, he got home. I don't think he drove again for another 6 months, but hey, we had one hell of a night that night. So,
I'm sure. And all that started with the way Samp had influenced you by mentioning music, like, for example, Little Feat. And, I know that's not the only thing that influenced you from Samp, me either, but those are the things that are so easy to point to and to say, man, I never heard of Lil George until Samp mentioned it. And I was just like, what? Be my Dixie Chicken? Holy shit. And I'll be your Tennessee Lamb.
That whole Waiting for Columbus record. Yeah. So, but I think that solidifies what we pointed out to is with regards to Dothan. Everybody was listening to something, and it could be something different, but everybody was listening to something.
I want you to go back for New Minute Music or New Music Minute, but the New Stones album. Is there anything else that you want to say about that?
They have also on this record enlisted the aid of another, what do you call them, septuagenarians? Is that 80-something?
Geriatric.
Old motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But Paul McCartney has collaborated with them on this record.
He collaborates with everybody. So
He's kind of like
go
the
ahead.
Jennifer Lopez of old rock people, I guess, because he's going to show up if there's something to show up on. But hey, he's Sir Paul, man. He gets a pass.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take George Harrison any day.
The most musical of the four for sure. But yeah, other than that, check out Foreign Tongues by the Rolling Stones. Yeah, like I said, it's a new record by an old band.
So let me be, I don't know if it's a devil's advocate or the stupid person, but let me just ask, because man, I haven't listened to a song off that. I almost have this compulsion, as Barney would say, to just, gosh, no, I can't listen. I can't. Apparently you've listened to some of it.
Give me some time.
Is it good?
Yeah. So far I'm going to say it's okay. Yeah. I'm not going to put up there with Exile on Main Street. Yeah. But once again, they're like 100. So, I mean, they get a pass on a few things.
Okay, yeah, and I was just curious, seeing something that, I look at it and I go, well, there are 100. I've probably heard everything that I thought was great.
Let me
Maybe
say
I'm wrong.
Very seriously, there is a sympathy for the devil on this record, which is an absolute top 5 all time.
Toddy. All right, so, man, great conversation. This topic is just the idea of good music and music in general is something that I think Toddy and I could talk about for probably about 10 years. So it's fun for us to share with you some of the thoughts that we're having. I hope that you'll share some of your thoughts in comments. Other than that, we'll see you next time.